Hi, folks. I want to offer an alternative view with regards to balance and our perception of it, and to hopefully introduce a new concept to you. It's simple, easy to implement into your workflow, but can take years to master. I learnt about this a few years back and was reminded of it again when listening to a recent podcast and thought I'd share it with you. I'm going to play an example now. I want you to focus on and listen carefully to the vocals in this section of the song.
Don't worry, 'cause I'm only on a road at the foot of the sea. Woo! It's not easy. Don't worry, 'cause I'm only on a road at the foot of the sea. Woo! It's not easy.
What did you hear? What did you notice? Did you notice anything? Did I do anything? In actual fact, I did. Let's take another listen, focusing on the vocal part.
Don't worry, 'cause I'm only on a road at the foot of the sea. Woo! It's not easy. Don't believe me when the tide arises, I'm gonna jump in. Don't worry, 'cause I'm only on a road at the foot of the sea. Woo! It's not easy. Don't believe me when the tide arises, I'm gonna jump in. Brush.
We're going to take one last listen. For those who missed it, I want you to focus deeper on how the bottom end of the voice changes. Here we go, one last time.
Don't worry, 'cause I'm only on a road at the foot of the sea. Woo! Don't worry, 'cause I'm only on a road at the foot of the sea. Woo! It's not easy.
If you guessed that I did something to affect the voice, you'd be right, but you'd be wrong in thinking that it was as a result of any processing I did to the voice. Here's what I actually changed. So here I've got two versions of the hi-hat. One of them is 6 decibels lower than the other. This one is at -3, this one is at +3. And all I've done is I've switched between those for that section, as you can see there, with the automation for the volume. That's all that changed. Now, if I just get rid of this duplicate, we'll have a play around with the volume of the hi-hats, and I want you to focus on the tonality of the voice and how the hi-hats affect that.
Don't worry, 'cause I'm only on a road at the foot of the sea. Woo! It's not easy. Don't worry, 'cause I'm only on a road at the foot of the sea. Woo! It's not easy.
So what I notice is that after adjusting the hi-hat, it affects my perception of how bright or dark the vocal feels, but not necessarily how dark or bright it actually is. From where I started to where I finished up, the lead vocal appeared to get a little brighter as a result of the increased hi-hat volume and brought it forward slightly in the mix. Now, people can ask you, how did you get your vocals to sound a certain way? How did you get the guitar to sit so well? What mic did you use? What type of compressor? Which EQ? But it's easy to overlook the basic principles of balance. Achieving this balance is what makes answering a question like all of these so difficult, because everything we do to one element in the mix can have flow-on effects as to how others are perceived, which is why mixing can take years to master. EQ is no different. EQ adjusts the volume of bands of frequencies up or down, and in turn affects their interaction with those of other instruments. For example, what happens to the vocal when I boost the EQ on the guitar? How does that make the voice feel? suddenly you're no longer EQing one instrument, but everything else that interacts with it. To approach it from an opposite angle, if you have other instruments masking the lead vocal, you can either choose to boost the vocal in a certain frequency band, or you can remove that problem frequency in every other instrument to get out of the way of the vocal. This is certainly a good way of maintaining headroom too. Here's why I think working and thinking this way helps to achieve a good balance. Using the example of the hi-hat and the voice, these instruments occupy much of the mid-range and have some frequencies in common to both of them. If we perceive that the voice has suddenly become too bright because of what we're doing by adding more hi-hats, we can change the hi-hat level to accommodate that and find a balance that works. What this does is it helps to prevent us from making the mix lumpy with frequency build-ups throughout and results in a smoother and more stable spectrum and balance without feeling the need to compress or change tones as much. Balance is all about the interaction of common frequencies and how well they add together. In this case, the ear is drawn to the high frequencies of the hi-hat part, making us more aware that there are high frequencies in the vocal too, and thus making it feel brighter than it is, or perhaps not as dark sounding. Part of this is to do with masking. We could back off the hi-hat and achieve more separation from the voice, or we could use that relationship to alter our perception of the vocal tone. Take this concept and apply it across your entire mix, even when you pan instruments. Keep in mind that what we call a well-balanced mix can be totally different to what we might consider to be a clear mix. Some food for thought there. Play around and experiment with that. Until next time, happy mixing. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas for new tutorials or require mixing services, please email me at yamahadrums2009@hotmail.com, and please subscribe to remain informed of future video releases.